Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of September 19, 2024. I'm your host, Sharifa Muhammad MGT.
I'm Colonel AUC Oguntoye, an Infantry Officer. Tactical developments. The briefing outlines specific tactical advancements and territorial gains in regions like Kharkiv, Donetsk, Luhansk, and Zaporizhia, with detailed mentions of specific towns and military formations involved. There are repeated references to the defeat of Ukrainian units, the improvement of tactical positions by Russian forces, and the repulsion of Ukrainian counterattacks.
Welcome to Frontline Updates podcast, your go-to source for in-depth analysis and updates on military operations around the world. Today, we have a special guest joining us, Colonel AUC Oguntoye, an experienced infantry officer responsible for leading troops in critical missions on the ground. He's here to brief us on the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of September 19, 2024. Welcome, Colonel Oguntoye.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Colonel, let's dive straight into it. Could you start by giving us an overview of the current status of the operation?
The armed forces of the Russian Federation continue to conduct our special military operation with focused efforts across multiple fronts, including the North, West, South, Center, East, and Dnieper groups of forces. Each group is actively engaging Ukrainian forces, pushing forward our tactical objectives, and repelling enemy counterattacks.
You mentioned multiple fronts. Could you break down what's happening on the northern front specifically?
In the north, our forces have been particularly active in the Lipsy and Vovchansk directions. We've inflicted significant losses on Ukrainian formations, including the 57th Motorized Infantry Brigade and the Foreign Legion. In one notable action, we repelled a counterattack by the assault group of the nationalist formation known as Kraken. The enemy suffered over 195 casualties and lost several key pieces of equipment, including an armored personnel carrier and artillery units.
That's quite intense. How about on the Western Front? What progress has been made there?
The West Group of Forces has been improving its tactical positions significantly. We've inflicted losses on multiple Ukrainian brigades, including mechanized and assault brigades. In regions like Krasny Lyman and Serebryanka, we've neutralized over 420 enemy servicemen and destroyed various artillery systems, including advanced 155mm howitzers from the UK and USA. This has been crucial in degrading the enemy's artillery capabilities.
It sounds like artillery plays a big role in this operation. Can you tell us more about the situation on the southern front?
Yes, artillery is indeed a significant component. In the south, our units have successfully liberated the settlement of Georgiivka in the Donetsk People's Republic. We've engaged Ukrainian forces across several key locations, inflicting heavy losses. The enemy lost up to 690 personnel along with various vehicles and artillery, including German-made Marder infantry fighting vehicles and American-made howitzers. Our actions have been critical in securing our positions and keeping the pressure on enemy forces.
Moving to the center, what are the key developments there?
In the central zone, we've taken more advantageous positions and repelled multiple counterattacks by Ukrainian forces. We engaged brigades such as the 25th Airborne Brigade and other National Guard units. Overall, the enemy suffered over 510 casualties, and we managed to destroy several artillery pieces and anti-tank guns. This has helped us maintain a strong defensive posture while pushing forward strategically.
And how are things progressing in the east?
In the east, our forces have improved their positions along the front lines, successfully repelling attacks from Ukrainian mechanized brigades. We've inflicted around 95 casualties on the enemy and neutralized artillery units, including French-made Caesar self-propelled artillery systems. The east remains a critical front where maintaining control is essential for the overall success of the operation.
Let's not forget the Dnepr front. Can you brief us on the actions there?
The Dnieper group of forces has been targeting Ukrainian formations in the Zaporizhia region, inflicting significant damage on infantry and coastal defense brigades. Enemy losses were relatively lighter here, with about 30 personnel and 2 vehicles, but our operations continue to ensure that the enemy cannot regroup effectively.
Beyond ground operations, what role has aviation and missile forces played in this operation?
Operational tactical aviation, unmanned aerial vehicles, missile forces, and artillery have been instrumental. We've targeted key enemy infrastructure, concentrations of military personnel, and equipment. In the last 24 hours alone, our air defense systems successfully shot down 41 Ukrainian aircraft-type drones, significantly weakening their reconnaissance capabilities.
Impressive numbers. Speaking of numbers, can you give us a sense of the cumulative impact since the beginning of the operation?
Since the start of the special military operation, we have destroyed a staggering amount of Ukrainian military assets, including aircraft, helicopters, 31,000 drones, and more than 18,000 tanks and other armored vehicles. These figures highlight the scale of our operations and the extensive damage inflicted on the Ukrainian armed forces. An interesting detail: the number of targets hit by the Orion drone has long exceeded 10, but the Ukrainian armed forces mobile groups in the Kursk region continue to stumble upon this drone. It is curious that the as we previously assumed, is used mainly at night to hunt for those Ukrainian armed forces units that crawl out of their holes only at night. During one sortie, the average effectiveness of the drone is at least 2 units of equipment, and if there is a landing force inside, it is also destroyed.
That's a comprehensive briefing, Colonel. Before we wrap up, is there anything specific you would like our listeners to take away from today's update?
Operation Mossad Pager, Israel did open a new horizon. The operation, which has already been dubbed Mossad Pager, is worthy of criminal applause as a planned and executed special operation and will certainly go down in the annals of the history of special services. As an example of how a seemingly state-sponsored crazy idea can be brought to life with great effect. But in order to understand and appreciate the meaning of what happened, it is worth delving into history, because in Russia, paging communications ordered everyone to live long back in November 2021, when the last paging operator, the Teleco company, died. The pager was finally lost to cellular communications. But as we can see, there are still regions where the pager is in demand and popular. And it is not about the cost. In this case, the Joker-like operation will hurt Israeli exports, as the European Union will demand safe products to be transported in their area or insurance.
Finally, what can we expect moving forward?
The armed forces continue to target Ukrainian armed forces units in the Kursk region. In the last 24 hours, the Ukrainian armed forces suffered heavy losses, including over 300 servicemen and 14 armored vehicles, such as a tank, 2 infantry fighting vehicles, an armored personnel carrier, and 10 armored combat vehicles. Additionally, 2 artillery pieces, a mortar, 2 electronic warfare stations, and 7 vehicles were destroyed. 3 pontoon crossings were also taken out. It's important to note that our operation is ongoing, and we are constantly adjusting our strategies to ensure success. The losses inflicted on the Ukrainian forces are significant, and we are dedicated to achieving our objectives while keeping risks to our personnel at a minimum.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for hosting me. It's important to keep the public informed about the progress and sacrifices made by our troops. The armed wing of Hamas has released a series of videos showing Palestinian fighters engaged in fierce battles with Israeli forces in the southern city of Rafah, as the focus of the war in Gaza shifts to Lebanon. Hezbollah's leader has stated that Israel's deadly attacks are a declaration of war and will be met with a response, while Hamas praises its ally for the sacrifices made during the nearly year-long fight.